Hey everybody, it's Jeff here with Entrepreneur Essentials once again. Thanks for tuning in. We are back and we're with my friend Ed Trevis from Corvalent. We're going to talk a little bit about his business today. Ed is big in the Cedar Park Chamber and the Cedar Park community, and just awesome entrepreneur. Be able to tell us a lot about how he got started and how his business got rolling here. Once again, right down below me always is our subscription button. Make sure you hit that subscription button and subscribe so that you get all the updates on the channel, and you'll make sure you get all of these. So Ed,
yes sir,
tell me a little bit about your entrepreneurial journey.
Well, that's a long one. We'll try to make that in less than 2 minutes.
Okay.
I started entrepreneurship when I was 17.
Okay.
17 years old in Brazil, actually.
Okay.
And that was my first business, and I had a great mentor, my uncle.
Okay.
And my whole entire family is entrepreneurs, and I probably got that on my DNA, but that was the thing that we wanted to do as kids. We wanted to own our own business and so forth. So my uncle was the first one that got me into business. And really interestingly enough was a garden center. Okay. With a pet shop. You know, it's all mixed.
Yeah.
We sold flowers, we sold all kinds of different stuff, plants and all kinds of different stuff. But that was my first experience, and this uncle was a great mentor. And then, you know, I immigrated to the United States when I was 21 years old. So I've been here for about 35 years now. And the interesting thing about us was that, about myself, is that I always knew I wanted to own my own business. So I started working in the United States and working operations and working all several things, and I got into sales in the electronics industry. And getting into sales in the electronics industry, I started selling and became director of sales. And as the company went through a really tough time, at the time that the company that I used to work for, they went through a real tough time in the electronics industry, and they went out of business. And so I grabbed a spreadsheet and I looked at some of the business that I had in there, and I talked to a couple of investors, partners, and I said I wanted to start this business. And I think there's enough profitability in that business for us to start, and you know, and I have some old customers that I could do this with, and so I saw the opportunity coming.
And your big competitor's out of business.
That's right. So that was 25 years ago, and that's what Corvalent is. You know,
nice.
25-year-old company. That was off this year.
Now, when you came here, did you have family in the States, or?
No, I had no family whatsoever in the States. Now I got a bunch of family here that have moved, and you know, they're all different places in the country. But you know, there was a lot of migration from South America to here, and so I got a lot of cousins and a lot of people that I know. My sister, you know, my family is here. But it was a great experience. I mean, I often say that there were two best things I have done in life, and my kids always wanted to raise their hands and say, "Oh, that was me, right, Dad?" No, it wasn't.
No, not quite. Yeah.
But there was a couple great things that I have done in life. Number one was moving to the United States, you know, immigrating to the United States. The second thing was coming to Texas.
Yeah.
From California. I think that was probably the second best thing I have done in life, for sure. I think that was it's probably one of the biggest decisions I had to make, because it affected so many people and so many families.
Well, and let's talk about that a little bit, because I love the story of how you made that decision to make that move, because that was a huge move for you to move from California and move your whole business here.
Yes.
How did you make that decision, and then how did you actually help the people with you make that decision as well?
You know, I often get phone calls from different CEOs and people that wanted to make, you know, a move, a complete relocation, what I say. And trying to move this business, the entire business. In ours is manufacturing, engineering, and all that. And often the first thing that they say, how did you cope with that personally? And one of the biggest problems with that is you go to sleep and you think about, you know, if this does not work, You know, I'm affecting so many people that have been with me for so many years.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I had people being with me since day one, 15 years with me.
Sure.
And I completely impacted their family, kids in high school, and you know how that is. You can't change them.
Mm-hmm.
So I impact so many families, but one thing I had in my heart, I was totally convinced there was going to be a better quality of life.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what kind of drove me into the whole thing. And I started, for about 6 months prior to the announcement, I started bringing executives and their families here almost every single weekend and showing them everything that you can think of from a life perspective. And I think they became disciples in a way,
Yeah.
ambassadors
Yeah.
to the idea,
Yeah.
and they helped me throughout the organization. So where we started with only 5% of people really interested in relocating, by the time that I announced and we accept applications for relocation, it was 75% of the company, which I couldn't bring everybody.
Yeah.
But I look at today, and I look at so many people that have moved with me, and I have several stories, but one of the biggest stories is, you already know, I had one employee that walked into my office to give me a hug, and she said, I used to live in a low-income housing in California
With tons of people in the house.
Tons of people in the house and stuff like that, and I'm here for 2 years, and I'm able to buy a house right here in Town Center, Cedar Park.
Yeah.
I was like blown away.
Yeah.
I was said, if nothing else happens, this was probably worth it.
Well, and in the Bay Area, she probably had an hour and a half commute.
Oh, easily.
To where she could afford to live, to be able to be in where you guys were at.
Easily.
Here she's got a 2-minute commute to work.
Yeah, I mean, I had a 32-mile commute to go to work. Yeah.
Wow.
So it was a long ways. I mean, that's what you do in a place like that, where and the people say, hey, you're CEO, you could live right next to work, it could pay a lot more. No, it's not that. It's just that people look at the value of things.
Yeah.
And it just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. So talk a little bit about Corvalent. What all do y'all do?
So Corvalent is a 25-year-old company. It was formed in 1993 by a group of investors, including myself. And our whole purpose is to get into the industrial electronics of things. We build industrial computing solutions that basically are part of a lot of industrial pieces of equipment. They're not for your standard PC behind your desk. They run a very critical application, either medical or military or industrial automation. I mean, there's like 12 different industries and segments we work with. So that's the kind of thing that we do. We build ruggedized, computers and that kind of a product, right?
So basically anything, if I see an MRI machine, your stuff is probably inside of it.
Very, very possibly. Yeah, very possibly that any kind of a medical equipment that has any kind of computing platform behind it, you'll probably be a Corvalent computer.
Yeah.
Yes. It's right here, made right here in Cedar Park.
Made here in Cedar Park.
Yes, sir.
That's the beauty.
Designed and made here in Cedar Park.
That is awesome.
That's it.
So what's new in your world today?
Very interesting what you're asking, because that's pretty much like our organic kind of a growth for us, is to get into what we call the industrial IoT, industrial Internet of Things.
Okay. Wow.
Today, a lot of these devices had, like for example, preventive and predictive maintenance was pretty much a manual schedule. Where customers would have a piece of equipment, they will sell to, for example, a hospital and say, hey, every 6 months you got to change the belts. Every 6 months you got to change fluids, or every 6 months you got to check this.
Yeah, and if they weren't maintaining it, then.
And if they were not maintaining, or if they had more usage than others, they would have that problem in terms of service. They would be down, and the hospital could be losing a lot of money.
Sure.
So what we do, we basically automate this equipment, that we can put sensors in different things, and we can put edge computers, what we call, in the source, taking data and providing that data to the facility manager or somebody that's monitoring all the equipment and the maintenance of all their equipment. And basically we have a software that basically tells these companies that the equipment needs to be maintained.
That's awesome.
And that saves people millions of dollars over
that's huge. Well, especially for, they're making a major investment of equipment, so
millions,
you want to be able to maintain it.
That's correct. So that's our next thing. So we're in the military, we're in the medical equipment industry, industrial automation, and all kind of stuff. And as you can think of, a lot of these equipment are basically saving lives and doing all kinds of different things today. So those are the kind of things that we're getting into. I think we're we're just starting to get into that solutions business, and I think that's going to be a fantastic thing for us.
It's awesome.
as
It's a
we
nice
move
tack for the business.
forward. Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. That's going to be great. Yeah.
All right. Well,
Yeah.
fast 5 questions now.
Yes, sir.
All right. So
Okay.
first one.
Yeah.
You wake up in the morning, business is totally gone.
Yeah.
You have a place to live.
I'm
All
not
the
even
knowledge in
thinking
your
about
head.
this. I don't even want to
I
think
don't
about
want to
it.
hear it.
Corvalent is a great company.
Yes.
It was designed to last 100 years.
Just
Don't
like-
do this.
Just like the
But
computers.
it happened. It happened. It happened.
So $500 in your pocket. You have a
Right.
laptop computer. What do you do first?
Very interesting. Very interesting because, as you know, I have been part of Vistage International. And Vistage International is pretty much one of the largest CEO organizations in the world. Been there for about 17 years, being a member. And one thing I've gone through it is I always had an executive coach for 17 years. I mean, I couldn't do my business today, Jeff. And you know this.
Yeah.
Nobody can do this alone anymore. It never been.
Yeah.
But one of the things that was great for me, I had the opportunity to be with some of the best coaches in the world. And in the 2 coaches that I had, and the one I have still now, are some of the best coaches you can ever ask.
Yeah.
And they were my mentors in that kind of perspective. So there's a part of my life, 25 years running this business, being a CEO, that I think I got to a point that what I wanted to do is help people. And if that happened to me, just like you said, I would probably be going to be more of an executive coach, and that would be the first thing I would do.
Yeah.
I love helping people. I love been doing a lot of executive coaching, a lot of kids coaching. I've been doing a lot of that, and it's all about helping people. But I think over all these years, in running in parallel with getting executive coaching, but also being part of Vistage, I think I learned quite a bit in terms of helping people.
Yeah.
A way to help people build their business.
And you help them build.
Answer
you'll
their
be
own
fine.
questions.
Yeah.
Having their own answers, because that's what coaches do. And I think that's probably what I would do. I'll probably
That's a great
concentrate on
Yeah.
concentrate on coaching. I think that's probably
Well,
the
and I
next
mean,
thing.
and I think you made a really good point there that
Yeah.
I always stress to the audience is, I mean, you're hearing it from somebody who's been doing this successfully for many years.
Many years, yeah.
You've got to have a coach.
You got to have
You've
a
got to
coach.
find a good coach because, especially as a CEO or a president of a company,
Yeah.
you don't necessarily have somebody else you can talk to.
No, you don't.
You
You
know.
don't, and you can't. You don't think you can do this alone.
Mhm.
You can never do this alone. It's lonely at the top. Number
Yep.
one, and number two, in today's business, the world is very small. And if you continue to think that you can do anything alone, it's a joke because you have such a competitive structure or nature these days that trying to do things alone is very, very difficult.
Sure.
Being part of a group of different business owners and talking to people like yourselves and just having conversations, either lunch or a group setting,
Yeah.
you may come up with so many different things that you probably it's probably something that you learn pretty quick.
Yeah.
It's not what to do.
Well, I mean, and I always said, about here,
Yeah.
the one common thread, we all are in different businesses.
Exactly.
But the common thread is we're business owners.
Yeah.
And
that's one of the major
Yeah.
advantages
And
of
that's
being
it.
at T-Werx, right?
Yeah.
Is that you have other business people, different businesses
Yep.
sometimes.
Doesn't matter.
That it doesn't matter what you do. That you end up learning so much about yourself, but also a lot from others. And
Yeah.
I think that's what it is. I think communication and all that it's perfect. And that's why being part of a group of business owners, it's probably the best thing to make you the best that you can be.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
That is true. Yeah.
All right. So what was the biggest business mistake you've made?
Oh my God. Do we have 2 hours in this interview?
You have to pick one after 25 years. So.
I learned from a mantra standpoint I learned that there's 3 phases to wisdom. There is knowledge, experience, and you get to wisdom. And without all these mistakes, you never can get to where you can consider yourself some level of wisdom in your life. You get to a point in life that you get this phone call that goes like this: Mr. Trevis, I heard that you're really good at this. Jeff, I learned that you're really good at that. Once you get to that point in life and you get that phone call, it's not about glorifying yourself. It's about feeling that you have spent so much time so much time in doing something that you like so much, that you have learned so much, that it's almost something that you perhaps you need to pay attention to that. You need to pay attention, but it's that time in life that you're saying, I have done as much as I could in getting to where I need to be, and that's basically what it is. I think it's is that kind of a matter that you need. It's a point in your life that you get to that point and you say, okay, I've done what I need to do. That's the next thing.
Yeah.
Right? So that's
Now, how do I help somebody else get to that point?
Yeah, how do I help somebody to get to that
Yeah.
point? And that's where we came to that conclusion. But I think the biggest mistake, I would say that hiring the wrong people on the bus. I think that's probably the biggest mistakes I ever made.
Yeah.
I think hiring people today is so crucial, absolutely so crucial, that hiring the wrong people to complement what you don't know.
Yeah.
It is probably the biggest mistakes everybody makes. And
Well, and I think it's a combination of things, because it's somewhat harder today too.
Right.
You have to hire the right person, but then you have to make sure you hire them into the right chair.
That's correct.
And so it's really two decisions
That's
to make.
the other problem too.
Yeah.
Promoting people to the wrong chair. That's another several mistakes I made in life, and I can tell you right now, in the old days, you would have time for that.
Yeah.
Today you don't.
You don't.
I mean, the world is so competitive. Globalization hit us so bad that we can't afford to do that anymore.
Yeah.
So hiring, it's a big issue for me. We spend quite a bit of time in hiring somebody. They old say, hire fast and fire slow. It
The
doesn't
opposite
work in
now.
any business. It's completely the opposite now. Hire slow, fire fast.
Yep.
You can't afford to do anything different.
Sure.
I can only imagine 20 years from now what's going to look like, but I can tell you right now, it's difficult.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
What's a good book you recommend?
Man, I could give you a list of great books. I think one book, if you're not an avid reader, and these days I don't have time to read a lot, but at the times that I did a lot of commuting, 32 miles, as you can think,
Yeah.
I used to listen to a lot of audiobooks.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you what, one of the best books that I would tell anybody, if you don't read any books, and if you ever don't even pretend to, really read a book ever, read one book. And that's by Napoleon Hill, is Think and Grow Rich.
Think and Grow Rich. Yep.
That is probably the best book I could refer to somebody.
Yep.
I read that book. No, I listened to that book quite a bit ago. Bought the book. Not bought the book. I got that as a gift from my coach, I think. And over Christmas and whatever, and I start reading, some parts of the book. And today I remember, it's like what gets you here. It's the essence of that book. And I think it's probably one of the best books that I'll probably.
Well, and it's one of those that you can go back and read just pieces of.
Oh yeah.
You read the whole thing through, and then you can go back and read little parts of it and really focus on parts of it.
And that's the three things, it's the desire, the faith, and the persistence that kind of like propels you to do anything in life. So I would strongly recommend somebody to read that book. If you're just doing anything, I don't care if you own a business or just a person that wants to work for somebody, I don't care. Read that book. And it's not about getting to be a millionaire or anything like that either. It's about the state of mind of anybody.
Yeah, of successful people, period.
Yeah, it's almost spiritual in a way.
It is in a way.
Yeah,
I
it is in
agree.
a way. Yeah, it is quite incredible.
What's a good tool that you use in your business?
Coaching.
Coaching. There you go.
I used to have people walk into my office and say, "Hey, I got this problem," and I used to give them the solution all the time. Big mistake. Your company cannot grow that way, and that's why you have good people. Today people come to my office, it's like, I got this problem and here's the solution.
Nice.
And I ask them questions. I may know the answer, I may think I know the answer. And it's not always true. But one thing I know these days is ask questions.
Yeah.
Ask questions, coach.
Let me ask you this. So, there are hundreds of thousands of coaches, it seems, out there. What do you look for in a coach?
Oh, good question. There's about 7 different questions that I learned that, but I'm not going to remember all of them right now, to be honest with you. But one thing that is really interesting about a coach is you have to totally understand how much these people care for others.
Mm-hmm.
That's number one. I mean, I would think that if there is anything in life that would disqualify anybody from being a coach, is if they cannot prove to you how much they care for others.
Yeah.
And when I say prove to you, it's like doing it, not talking.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, what have you done that proves to me that you care about people?
Yeah.
Okay? You care about, at the end game. You care about this person succeeding and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that would be like the most questions that a lot of people fail then describe or maybe show, and that disqualify any coach. I don't care how good you are.
It can't be about you.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, competence, experience, years in doing it and all that stuff. But I can tell you right now, if that question is not if you're trying to interview an executive coach and he doesn't have that, I can tell you right now, it's he or she doesn't have that, so don't hire them.
Yeah.
That's basically what that is. And there's 6 other things that I would say that are more, tactical and maybe strategic in some points. But I would say that that's number one.
Yeah, because you really got to get a handle on whether they care.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's the biggest thing. I mean, competence a lot of people have. In coaching, there's all kinds of different things that you can do. And I typically do 2 different types of coaching. I do executive coaching and I do kids coaching. One of the things that I see in kids, both from high school, from going to college too. A lot of kids come to me and they're in college for a couple of years and say, I still don't know what I want to do.
Yeah.
And that's one thing that I'm sorry if this is going to go out and it may offend somebody, but I think the academia fails them.
Absolutely.
In many ways. They sit with counselors. And you would think that this guy is counseling. Well, this guy, what he does is basically sits with them, and many tell me this, right? What do you want to do when you grow up? And they say, well, I'll be an engineer. Oh, okay, here are the classes you got to take. This is not counseling.
Yeah.
Counseling is coaching that kid to really know what's driving that passion. What are your traits and attributes? List them out. Things that they have heard the whole entire life. Mom said that, Jeff said that, Ed said that. But not an entire list in a 2-hour session. That they can take that and say, hey, that's what drives my passion.
Yeah. This is what I want to do. Yeah.
Exactly. Kids get out of that session and then just climbing the walls.
But I know you've been involved with Incubator EDU.
Right,
and stuff like
that kind of stuff. It's
but I think the beauty of finally we're getting some programs like that where they're getting positive interaction. I mean, I think the coolest part was with the kids that I've worked with in that program.
Yeah.
They're developing relationships with executives that I never had. I mean, I didn't have until I got involved in business and all that.
Very true.
Here's kids that are 17 years old that are building relationships with CEOs of companies, and so they're getting that positive influence that you had from your uncle at the beginning.
Absolutely.
I mean, I didn't have that because my dad was an engineer, and he was not, he wasn't an entrepreneur at all.
And the kids, I'll tell you, we all been kids before, and I'll tell you, at one point many years ago, I was a little bit distraught about this whole thing about how this millennium generation is not going to really drive like we did. Old folks always think that way.
Yeah.
All right. And it's a message for kids. You guys are way better than us.
Yes.
Every time I coach a kid and I get all these traits and attributes driving their passion and all that, I get to know them really better. And I'll tell you, it's so inspiring to see that's not true. These millennials that have so much multitasking and all that, at my age, I didn't have what they got. And I'll tell you, once you discover that passion, these kids, you can't hold them.
I would say, and what I've said all along, the thing that impressed me, the reason this place exists is because millennials.
Yeah.
Because I started learning how they were building businesses, and they don't build them the way we were taught how to build a business. We were, build all these products and then try and jam them down somebody's throat and see if it works and spend all this money. They go out there and find people that want something.
Yeah.
Find out what they want.
Yeah.
Create a product that these people want, have them figure it out what they like and don't like about it, fix it, and then sell it to them.
With 100 times more competition than you and I had when we started.
Absolutely.
So this is the other thing too. It's like I tell you, it's kids are incredible these days. It's very inspiring.
Yeah.
I mean, the incubator program was really cool. I mean, I talked to a couple of the kids and then when we first started this thing, and I realized the potential of these kids are just incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, can you imagine having that when we were 17, 18 years old? a year-long, here's how
Yeah.
to build a business class. I mean, good Lord.
I had the honor to meet some of the kids from from Concordia University
Uh-huh.
too. And I'll tell you, every time I meet those kids, I get very inspired. It is unbelievable the level of experience and education these kids are getting, and it's just their whole idea about how the world works.
Yeah.
And it is very inspiring.
Well, and they're coming out and realizing, you know what, I can actually start a company.
Yeah.
I don't have to go to work for somebody. I mean,
Exactly.
now it makes it harder for you and I to find people who actually want to work for us.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, and this whole thing about how Social Security is going to end,
Yeah,
and
whatever.
nobody's going to pay to the
Yeah.
that doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
I think these kids are going to be. It's very promising what I see in a lot of these kids, but you got to help them.
yeah,
You got to help them because I think that education has to change. In my opinion, I think it's time, and I would bring down to the local level, and I wouldn't do this federally anymore. I think that's probably the best idea is to bring education to a local level so we can actually work. And I mean, look at what's happening in our district here.
yeah,
We're striving in so many different things,
Oh, it's
and
amazing.
it's all about
Yeah.
the community getting involved and people like me and you coaching these kids and getting them to the next step. Right?
we got to start them somewhere,
Oh
right?
yeah, I got to start somewhere. That's the way to go.
Well, thank you, my friend.
Thank you.
It was fantastic.
Always-
I appreciate it.
It's always great talking to
Excellent
Jeff.
interview.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks, folks. I mean, I don't even have to say more. I mean, he's amazing.
Oh, no.
Ed's been a good friend and a mentor of mine for a long time, and
you.
always appreciated all the good fellowship and,
Yeah.
and feedback and everything else.
Sure.
So make sure you subscribe to the channel. You're not going to miss any of this stuff, and we will see you guys next week.